The fishing trip was supposed to be 5 days. Edward made it 50 miles before his hand went to his jacket pocket.
My medication. I left it on the nightstand.
He turned the car around. By the time he reached his street, the evening had darkened into a deep blue, and then he saw the driveway, packed with vehicles. Sedans, SUVs, a sports car he didn't recognize.
What is this? We aren't expecting visitors?
He pulled over a block away. The walk back was silent except for his own footsteps. From the front lawn, he could hear it. Laughter. The clink of glasses.
Who would be laughing like that in my house?
He stepped right up to the side window. His breath fogged the glass as he peered in. Through the glass, shapes moved in the warm light. A dinner party. But for whom? The fog cleared, and Edward's world tilted.
Susan, Jacob, Rebecca, and a man I've never seen before.
Susan raised a glass, laugh lines deep around her mouth. She toasted someone who wasn't there. Jacob poured more wine, a smirk tugging at his lips. He looked pleased, utterly at ease, but Rebecca sat apart, twisting her napkin, her eyes downcast. She wasn't laughing. The stranger leaned into Susan, his hand brushing hers, a possessive gesture, familiar and intimate. Then Edward saw the mantel, a framed photo of himself with a black ribbon tied across the corner.
They're holding my memorial, and I'm not even dead.
His hands dropped from the window pane. The sounds inside seemed to twist, cheerful voices sharpening into mockery. He stepped back into the shadows, his breath shallow. The dinner went on, glowing and oblivious. Edward walked the block in a cold, straight line. He didn't run. Running would have been too loud.
They think I'm fishing. Good. Let them think I'm miles away.
He started the engine and pulled away, headlights off until he rounded the corner.
Patrick, it's Edward. I need to see you tonight. Now.
The voice on the other end didn't ask why. It simply gave an address.
The folder. It's time.
His knuckles were white on the steering wheel, the streetlights flashing over his face. 20 minutes of silence. No radio, no calls. Just the road and the weight of the image he couldn't unsee. He turned into a quiet, tree-lined neighborhood. A single lamp glowed in Patrick's study window. He killed the engine and sat for a moment. The next hour would reshape everything. Edward walked up the stone path to Patrick's front door, his reflection a ghost in the dark glass. The door opened before he knocked. Patrick, in his 60s, wire-rimmed glasses, gestured him inside without a word.
They were holding a memorial dinner, Patrick. My photo on the mantel with a black ribbon.
I suspected something like this might happen. You were right to put the pieces in place 2 years ago.
Get the folder. It's time.
Patrick unlocked a drawer and lifted out a thick manila folder, its edge worn from handling. He placed it on the desk. The sound it made was heavier than paper should be.
2 years of silence. 2 years of waiting, all of it condensed into that folder. They think they're celebrating my death. By 9 a.m. tomorrow, they'll wish it were true.
Patrick opened the folder. The first page lay face down, its contents yet unknown, but the air in the room changed. The folder's first page was not a document. It was a memory pulled from 2 years ago.
A hotel receipt in Susan's purse. The date matched a weekend she claimed to be at her sister's.
He hired a private investigator within the week. The photos came back fast. The man was Mark Phillips, a cardiologist. Married, with a practice 2 towns over.
I sat in your office, Patrick, and told you to start moving everything into a trust.
You said you needed to protect yourself, that if the marriage failed, she couldn't take what you built.
For 2 years, Edward said nothing. He watched, documented, and waited for the right moment. Now, in the folder, the PI's timeline stretched across 14 months. Hotels, dinners, the cardiologist's own lies.
She put a black ribbon on my photo. That was the signature I needed.
Patrick lifted the PI report from the folder. Its pages were dog-eared, marked with dates that told the whole story.
14 months of hotel stays, dinner receipts, even a weekend in Vermont. Mark Phillips was meticulous.
Edward didn't flinch. He pulled the trust document from the folder, its heavy paper crackling in the silence.
$6.8 million. Every property, every investment, all of it moved into an irrevocable trust 2 years ago. Beneficiaries, my sister Emily and the founder's charity. Susan gets a daily account with $40,000. Nothing more.
The divorce filing is complete. I can serve it at 9 a.m. tomorrow, along with the affidavit.
Tonight they think I'm dead. By 9 tomorrow they'll wish I were. 2 years of watching and waiting. The trap was finally going to snap shut.
He closed the folder with a precise, heavy thud. The sound echoed off the bookshelves. Patrick reached for his coat, but Edward was already standing, his gaze fixed on the door. Outside, the night was still. Edward's house glowed in the distance, unaware of the storm approaching.
Patrick, what about the children? Jacob was pouring the wine like a host. Rebecca wouldn't meet my eyes.
The PI noted Jacob facilitated 3 meetings between Susan and Mark. He lied to cover her absences.
My own son. He didn't just know he helped orchestrate this.
Jacob used his own car to transport Mark once. He was observed laughing with them at a restaurant.
And Rebecca, she looked miserable at that table. Is she part of this?
Rebecca has been absent from the PI's surveillance. No proof she knew, but she did attend tonight.
Then she'll have to explain herself. Both of them will face the truth tonight.
He picked up the folder and held it against his chest. Its weight was the only comfort he needed.
Let's go. The party's still in full swing. It's time I gave the toast they've been waiting for.
They stepped out into the night. The folder under Patrick's arm was thicker than the Bible and twice as final. At the curb, Patrick motioned toward the driver's door. Edward shook his head once.
No, this is my battle. I'll drive.
Patrick handed over the keys without argument. They climbed in, the folder resting on Patrick's lap like a locked box.
40 years ago, I stood at an altar and promised her everything. I saw her face then, so young, so certain.
The memory broke like glass when his mind flashed to tonight, Susan raising her glass, laughing with another man.
That woman is gone. She buried me tonight. Now I bury her.
He put the car in gear and pulled away from the curb, the headlights cutting a clean path forward.
Are you all right, Edward?
I will be at 9:01 tomorrow morning.
The car accelerated into the darkness. The house ahead was a beacon. Edward was no longer a man returning home. He was a verdict being delivered.
I built this estate from a rented office. Susan kept the ledgers on our kitchen table. For 20 years, she was my partner. Then she became a stranger who shared my bed.
The first warehouse, the expansions, she saw every victory. And then, without a word, she began to disappear.
That black ribbon on my photo, that was her goodbye. The final signature on a contract I never signed.
Are you sure you want to go in tonight? We could serve the papers in the morning.
No, they celebrated my death. Now they meet the living consequence.
He turned onto a side street a block away and killed the engine. The headlights died, plunging the car into darkness.
40 years, every brick, every beam, I built it. She decorated it with betrayal.
Through the windshield, the house glowed, laughter still bubbling from its open windows. Edward's hand tightened on the door handle. Patrick clutched the folder. Neither spoke. They stepped out of the car and walked the last block. The night air was warm, but Edward felt cold. Laughter spilled from the open windows, mixed with the clink of silverware and the pop of a champagne cork.
They're in there, raising glasses to my memory. Every laugh is a nail in a coffin I never climbed into.
He stopped at the edge of the driveway. The cars were still there, the house still glowing.
Patrick, thank you for being with me tonight. I couldn't do this alone.
I wouldn't be anywhere else.
They crossed the driveway together, gravel crunching under their shoes. At the front door, Edward paused. Through the wood, he could hear a woman's voice rising in a toast. To Edward, who loved fishing more than anything. The room erupted in laughter. Edward's hand closed around the doorknob. The metal was cool, final. He turned it. The toast landed like a punchline. The room erupted, clapping, Cheering, a woman whistling through her fingers. Mark Phillips leaned in and planted a kiss on Susan's cheek. His arm slid around her waist with the ease of long practice. Jacob raised his own glass, smirking, and caught Mark's eye as if they shared a private joke.
At least the inheritance is safe. Cheers to that.
Rebecca flinched at the words. Her fingers tightened around her phone until the plastic creaked.
I can't sit here. I should have told him.
Then she felt it, a cold draft that made the hairs on her arms stand up. The front door stood open. Two dark figures filled the doorway, backlit by the harsh porch light. The laughter stopped as if a wire had been cut. Every smile froze. Edward Reeves stood in his own doorway, his attorney at his side, a folder under his arm that seemed to pull all the air from the room. A silence stretched that was louder than any toast. Every smile died mid-breath. Susan's hand went limp. The wine glass fell, a ruby arc tracing her guilt. It hit the floor with a crystalline scream, red wine spraying like a verdict. Mark Phillips turned the color of the tablecloth. He took a stumbling step backward. Jacob's mouth opened, but the only thing that emerged was a thin, reedy sound. Rebecca rose from her chair, her phone clattering to the table. Her eyes were wet, but her expression was unreadable. Edward surveyed the room the way a coroner surveys a body. He did not speak. Patrick stepped back and pushed the door shut. The click of the latch echoed like a lock turning on a cell. For 10 long seconds, Edward simply looked from face to face. No one dared look away. At last, his lips parted. But the words he would speak had been waiting 2 years. They could wait a moment longer. Edward's first words cut through the silence with surgical precision.
So, my memorial dinner turned out well. I'm sorry I'm late.
He turned to the trembling man beside Susan.
You're Mark Phillips, the cardiologist. Married, I believe. Your wife will be interested in the contents of this folder.
Mark's mouth opened, but no defense came. His skin looked waxen under the chandelier.
And you, Susan. I've known about the two of you for 2 years. Every hotel, every lie.
Susan's face crumpled. She reached toward him, but her hand stopped midair as if hitting glass.
Patrick, the folder.
Patrick stepped forward and placed the thick manila folder on the table. He flipped it open with a practiced, deliberate motion.
Please, Edward. It's not what it looks like. Let me explain.
Edward ignored her. He reached into the folder and lifted a document.
This is a petition for dissolution of marriage. Grounds, adultery, signed by Judge Morrison this afternoon.
He placed it on the table and pulled out another page. The irrevocable trust.
6.8 million. Every asset I built. It belongs to my sister and the founder's charity. You get nothing.
Susan swayed, gripping the table's edge. Her fingers left white streaks on the mahogany.
And the private investigator's report, 14 months of surveillance. Your every move with Mark is documented.
The room filled with the sound of Susan weeping, but Edward's voice never wavered. Jacob lunged forward, his face reddening.
Dad, you can't do this. This is illegal. You can't just cut us off.
Edward looked at his son as if seeing a stranger. The room held its breath, waiting for the next blow.
You can't do this. Mom has rights. We're your children.
You helped her, Jacob. You drove Mark to his rendezvous. You laughed at the dinner table. You are not my son tonight.
Susan collapsed into a chair, her sobs the only sound. Mascara carved dark rivers down her cheeks.
You have until 9 a.m. tomorrow to vacate this house. Take what you can carry. The daily account has 40,000, enough for a motel.
The house? The money? What about our children? You can't leave them with nothing.
The trust was decided 2 years ago. They made their choices tonight.
Mark, who had been inching toward the side door, froze as Patrick's hand clamped his arm.
Sit down, Mark. Your wife will learn everything tomorrow. Enjoy your last night of pretense.
Susan wailed, a raw, keening sound that filled the room and found no comfort. Edward turned toward the door, his back to the wreckage. Patrick opened it. The night air rushed in, cold and clean. At the threshold, Edward stopped. He turned back to face the two people he had raised.
Jacob, you knew. You helped them. You sat there smirking while your mother toasted my death.
I was protecting Mom. She was lonely. You were never around.
I was building the life you were born into, and you just threw yours away.
Then his eyes moved to Rebecca. She hadn't said a word, tears streaming silently down her face.
And you, Rebecca, you were at this dinner. You sat among them while they mocked my memory.
Rebecca's lips parted, but no sound came. She could only shake her head, her phone clutched in her fingers.
Your inheritance was decided 2 years ago. Tonight sealed both your fates.
You'll regret this. You can't just cast us off.
Edward turned his back. Rebecca stared at her phone, her thumb hovering over a months-old message she had almost forgotten. Mark broke first. He lunged for the side door, coat half on, panic twisting his face into something animal. Patrick's arm snapped out and caught him by the collar, yanking him back with legal precision.
Your wife will receive the PI file tomorrow. She deserves to know what kind of man she married.
You can't. I'll lose my practice, my marriage. Susan, say something.
Edward, don't destroy us all. Please, I'll leave tonight. Just stop this.
Edward didn't acknowledge the plea. His hand moved toward the doorknob with the slow certainty of an executioner. Behind him, the room dissolved into a chorus of weeping and curses. Guests pressed against the walls. His fingers encircled the cold brass. He turned it. The latch clicked free. For a heartbeat, he stood there, the door ajar, the night air cold against his skin. He did not step through. The room held its breath, waiting for the final blow. Then, from the wreckage, Rebecca lunged forward. Her hand closed on his sleeve like a lifeline.
Dad, I tried to tell you. I texted you in March. Please, just look at your phone.
Edward froze. The door stood half open behind him, but he did not move. The room, which had been a cacophony of despair, went silent again. All eyes turned to father and daughter.
Rebecca, stay out of this. You don't know what you're doing.
But Rebecca didn't let go. Her grip tightened, her eyes never leaving her father's. For the first time that night, something flickered in Edward's expression. Doubt, or the ghost of hope.
What text?
From March. I knew what Mom was planning. I tried to warn you. It's still in your phone.
Edward pulled out his phone. The screen stayed dark, but his thumb hovered over it. His eyes locked on Rebecca's. Edward pressed his thumb to the screen. The phone glowed, revealing months of unread notifications, a digital graveyard of missed calls, ignored messages. He scrolled, past work emails, past spam, until his thumb stopped over a thread simply labeled Rebecca. The last message was dated March 12th. The preview line seared across the screen. Dad, Mom is planning something awful. Please don't go on the trip. Call me. I love you. Edward's hand trembled. The small, unread badge felt like an indictment of his own neglect.
She warned me months ago, and I never checked my phone.
He looked up from the screen. Rebecca was still there, her hand still on his arm, tears cutting clean tracks down her cheeks.
I'm sorry I couldn't stop it. I didn't know how. I came tonight hoping you'd somehow walk through that door.
You tried. That matters more than you know.
For a moment, the room ceased to exist. There was only a father and a daughter, and the faint possibility of rebuilding. Edward pulled Rebecca into a brief, tight embrace. It lasted only a second, but it was the first human warmth he'd felt in months.
You're coming with me.
Then he released her and faced Jacob, who was backing toward the wall, his defiance crumbling.
You knew for months. You laughed while I was dead to you. You made your choice.
Dad, please. I'll do anything. Just don't leave me with them.
You've already done everything. There's nothing left.
Susan stared blankly from her chair, mascara in dark streaks, her world reduced to a single room. Edward gestured to Patrick, who collected the folder from the table with a final, deliberate motion. Rebecca placed her hand in her father's. Together, they turned toward the open door. Behind them, Jacob slumped to his knees, his cries swallowed by the silence of the house that was no longer his. The door closed behind them with a soft, irrevocable click that severed 40 years. Inside, Susan collapsed forward, her mascara tracing dark paths, her sobs now silent gasps. Jacob remained on his knees, hands outstretched to the empty doorway. No one took them. Near the side exit, Mark Phillips melted into the darkness, his coat dragging like a guilty shadow. On the porch, Edward drew a long, shuddering breath, as if surfacing from deep water. Rebecca's hand found his back. He covered it with his own, a silent thank you.
Let's go home, Dad.
He nodded and they descended the steps together, Patrick a steady presence behind them. The walk to the car was measured, each step a quiet declaration of a new beginning. Behind them, the house stood dark and silent, its windows like closed eyes. The night swallowed the last echoes of weeping. Edward turned the key. The engine hummed to life, the dashboard casting a soft blue glow across their faces. Rebecca's hand slid over his, still gripping the gear shift. He turned his palm and held it. A single tear traced the line of his cheekbone. He didn't wipe it away. It was proof he could still feel. In the back seat, Patrick quietly opened the folder and began reordering the documents, his work almost done.
It's really over, isn't it?
For them, yes. For us, it's just beginning.
He pulled onto the main road, the city lights smearing into soft streaks. The engine's hum was the only conversation needed. Rebecca rested her head against the window, the tension of months finally leaving her shoulders. In the rearview mirror, the house shrank to a speck of light, then vanished. The car's taillights dissolved into the night. All that remained was a dark house under a billion stars, silent and small.